From the iAcquire offices in Midtown Manhattan, it's Lunch Break with Michael King.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the second installment of Lunch Break, or maybe just welcome to the second installment of Lunch Break. Today, we have the fantastic, amazing, and marvelous Evan Fishkin, Associate Director of Search at Digitas, and overall awesome guy. And we also have the illustrious Brittan Bright here with us. And we're going to talk about some things. So, Evan,
I'm excellent.
yeah?
I'm fabulous. Marvelous.
Okay. Fair enough. So, before we get into this, we're actually eating Aoki Sushi today on 48th Street. Pretty awesome sushi spot. What are you having?
I had the chirashi, which is basically just very wonderful rice, sushi rice, and an assortment of sashimi.
Awesome. And Britton, what do you have?
I am currently eating some miso soup. Very exciting.
Fantastic. She has some other things she just
Yes.
want to tell you.
I don't know what they are. That's why.
Well, there's a seaweed salad, and
Yeah,
the rest
I
of it's
think-
sashimi.
Yeah. And I think we got it all in my teeth, so.
And I got the craziest thing, chicken teriyaki. So, we're just going to hop into this these questions. We have a lot of questions today.
Before you hop into the questions, I have for you, good sir, a gift.
Oh, word? So, guests that come onto the show from now on, remember, you got to bring me a gift.
Wow.
Just kidding. Evan didn't have to bring me this at all. Let's see what this is. Wow.
How Evan rolls.
Hey, it is how Evan rolls.
E-money in the house.
Evan's actually a really good friend. Nice guy, too.
And a great guest.
Yeah, unless you're... No, there's no one.
We're trying to help you out, buddy.
Nice. So, for those that don't know, during my rap career, my name was Icon, and I actually got that name from this comic book, and it's basically like the Black Superman. And so, it's really awesome that Evan got me this graphic novel. He got me the first one for my birthday, and now he got me the rest of them. This is awesome, man. Don't make me cry on camera.
Oh, you're very welcome. I think, do you remember what the note said? The
No,
card?
I don't.
We still have it.
I do have it. I don't remember what it said, though.
So, icon, right?
Yeah.
A representative.
Mm-hmm.
Represent.
I'm representing. All right, now let's jump into these questions. Okay. Do you have any initial thoughts on the disavow tool, and what are you recommending for the usage of it?
Wow. Just right into the deep end. All right. My initial thoughts on the disavow tool. As with any tool that Google provides, it's a bit of what Jeremy Derringer liked to call tinfoil hat, right? You're providing them with information that one way or the other you're hoping is going to help you. In the end, we're always looking to better the link profile from both, a size, quality, and of course, compliancy standpoint with regards to the Webmaster Guidelines. With this new tool, we're moving a step closer to that, where there's the transparency between Google as the search engine provider and us as the content provider to make sure that that gap is bridged. And I think it's going to be a good tool for us to use. As far as how I'm recommending the usage of it, it's really on, as with anything in SEO, it's a case-by-case basis. You're going to identify a problem, and you're going to say, the solution is this tool. We need to out ourselves with this. We need to acknowledge that they've caught us or they're going to catch us. And this tool provides you that bridge.
I think I kind of lean more on that tinfoil hat side because, I think like a coder. And as a coder, like, we have a problem. Let's say I'm Google. We have a problem where we can't detect spam enough. And what's the best way to do it? Crowdsource it. What's a good way to crowdsource it? Give them a disavow tool. It's the same thing as what was going on with the Webmaster Tools messages, I believe. Like, they shot a bunch of bows at you and saw what stuck. And some people told on themselves, some didn't. So, and I also think it's kind of early to really have a really strong POV on it because it came out less than 7 days ago. And there's so many posts about how to use the disavow tool. How do you know? Like, Matt Cutts himself said at PubCon that it takes weeks for something to happen if you do it. So I think whoever sent you that question, it was a trick question.
Well, either way, I'm very comfortable with my answer. But I think one of the things you pointed out, the conspiracy. For those of you who follow me on Twitter, you might have noticed that I sent Rand a little Keanu conspiracy meme that basically solidifies Mike's point.
Well, how do you think that it's different for the big brands that you work on at Digitas versus some other organizations you work for?
As with everything, again, case-by-case basis. For the larger organizations, this disavow tool is going to be much more, I think, a curse than a blessing. With large organizations, you have so much data coming in and out. You have so many people, dealing with the project that eventually someone's going to say, this is the way we have to do it. And either that person is going to make a very strong case for it, and they're going to overreach with how much they put into that tool. And that could be a significant problem, right? If you start disavowing things that, they're not links, they're not bad links you bought, or they're just bad neighborhood links, and you just start going in there and just wiping out your link profile. That's going to be a significant issue. It's going to take a deft hand to basically say this is how this tool is used, and it's going to have to start with a small step.
I think that's it.
That's a great point, actually. When Bing did it, Dwayne Forrester said it took like 9 hours for somebody to totally mess up their link profile. So there's a lot of people out there that have no business touching a disavow tool.
Welcome to the information age. Less than 24 hours for you to ruin your business.
All right. So, what's the most difficult part of your job as AD of SEO at a large agency? Now, all three of us have been there in a large agency, so we can all relate. And there's a lot of people out there that don't understand like the difference and what you have to deal with. So, obviously, you need to be really careful with this answer. But
so I think I bought myself about 5-10 seconds, and I appreciate you for covering for the silence.
No doubt.
The most difficult part of my job, I think, unfortunately, I think it's universal, is the general concept is communication. Mm-hmm. On a more granular level, it's the details of that communication get much more difficult when you have a larger organization. You're going to tell one person something. That person's then going to play a game of telephone where that goes to 17 other internal folks for review, for analysis, for correction, and then that goes to a client. Now, with those clients, the ones that I usually deal with, they're huge. So on their end, they send it to another 17 people for analysis, review, and correction. And at some point, the message that you get back may not accurately reflect what you sent out. And keeping track of it along the way, along the lines, is almost impossible. So in the end, you end up with the unfortunate game of telephone.
And then add additional agencies also working on the same client.
So I've been very fortunate in that apparently I'm a nice guy. So the agency partners that I end up working with are very honest with me. I'm very honest with them, and it's worked out wonderfully so far. And I haven't had an agency to agency problem.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. So piggyback off of that question, what's the best part of working at a huge agency as AD of SEO?
The data. It's immense, and it's wonderfully granular. You deal with analytics accounts that have been set up since sometimes as far back as 2004, mm-hmm. and you can look at this trend data and you can identify patterns. I think I have found in one of the old analytics account, I have identified the Florida update.
Nice.
I was thrilled with that. I was blown away. I was like, whoa, I've identified an update that doesn't, nobody talks about anymore. Like, if you were to go to a convention now and be like Florida 2.0, which I guess Panda basically had the same effect, but I mean, if you said, people would lose their minds.
That's crazy. Well, for me, I love the idea of working on huge clients, which we do here, but working on huge clients and then those agency perks, that was the most awesome part. Like, getting free tickets to movies that aren't out yet, and being able to pick up the phone and hit up some sort of service provider, or just email them. They see @Razorfish on the email. They're like, yeah, of course I'll help you out. Like, that type of stuff was cool about working for those big reputable agencies.
So I think I'm doing it wrong because I haven't gotten tickets to anything yet.
You could have gone with me to Batman and Chuck Norris.
That's right, but I think I was out of town in Chicago.
That's so sad.
All right. So
see, I don't need no agency contacts. I got Brittan Bright.
Everybody wishes they had Brittan. Should other departments know about SEO, and how do you see the evolution of SEO in a big agency?
So I kind of argue this question with myself. I think somebody asked it to me in an email interview. SEO at an agency is going to go one of two ways. It's going to continue to be an isolated discipline, or it's going to become a knowledge base for good marketers. Marketing is moving away from kind of the, if you will, the snake oil salesman aspects. Every generation, they move away from those less measurable pieces, and they move towards the stuff that can be most measured, that can be most accountable. And SEO is part of a better discipline for all marketers. Understanding that, the internet has a significant impact on any business right now is just common sense. Looking at how that impact occurs, looking at the various ways that you can change the paths of consumers, you can change the minds of consumers. That's what SEO is it's just understanding that this is where somebody starts and this is where somebody ends, and I have to impact everything in between. Somebody doesn't go onto the internet knowing that they're going to go buy a snowboard from Burton and this is the URL. They start online and they say, I want to go snowboarding this season, what do I need? Filling the gaps between curiosity and decision is what SEO helps with. As with any marketing discipline, I mean, psychology experts like Dr. Pete are pivotal in helping us to identify consumer needs. And I think you tout this a lot. Personas is key in understanding the search funnel. I mean, do as much keyword research as you want. If you don't understand your consumer, you're not going to fill the gaps between curiosity and decision.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a key difference in, what we do and what other people are doing, because a lot of SEOs approach it like, oh, how can we fill up this page with content that'll rank for that keyword? But if you're not thinking about what's going to happen when somebody gets to that page, you've lost. Like, you just wasted your time and people's money. So you have to focus on that audience and, like you said, get them from the curiosity to that decision by providing them what they're looking for.
Can I add to that?
Nobody's stopping Brittan Bright.
Well, I think also adding additional people like me to the industry is really important because, search engine optimization, just take that term and really look at it from a broader perspective. What does that really mean? And we get really caught in the weeds sometimes, but your search engine optimization, people use search engines in so many different ways, and it's so impactful as a business strategy that it absolutely needs to be integrated into all areas of marketing, and it needs to be looked at that way. And sometimes those of us in this industry are most guilty of pigeonholing ourselves, and it needs to evolve and continue to be redefined, and sometimes that's most challenging for the people who have been most successful in it.
Well said.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's good.
What is the biggest SEO error you have ever seen on a major website?
So I'm not quite sure I understand biggest in this concept, but I'm gonna go with one of the
#fail.
Right. The thing is, so scope of, just the multitude of errors that they've caused is biggest, but I think kind of the one that kind of sticks with me the most is they did about 1.5 years of redesigns. They went through all the creative they could. It was wonderful. It was gorgeous. It had been user tested by 5,000 people. It had gone through hundreds of revisions. They'd had multiple agencies working on the account. Everything looked perfect. They launched and they left the robots.txt file on a universal disallow.
Wah, wah, wah.
So for me, that's the biggest fail. I think from kind of a scope and error, when you switch over from an old architecture to a new architecture, I guess, I don't want to be a generalist about this, but it looked like the devs of the old world, I want to say probably prior 2007, 2008, were huge fans of relative links. And when they changed over these architectures to new definitive, to new architectures, the problem is that all of these old relative links are still sitting there, and instead of changing their link structure, instead of going in and editing all these old links, they end up with 300,000 broken links or 300,000 consistently unnecessary redirects. You've got, on the home page, they ended up with 168 links that had each one had its own individual redirect to get to another redirect that took you to the destination.
Wow.
And it was unreal. So for me, the biggest fail is always internal architecture seems to be where the ball is dropped the most.
Yeah, a lot of those big sites that have been around since like either the late 90s or the early 2000s, they have huge problems like that. So I learned how to build websites in 95, and like I learned it from a book called Creating Cool Websites with HTML. And like one of the things that it said was you should always use relative links throughout your site. So that was like a standard back in the early days of the web. And now that like when I got into SEO in like 06, they're like, yeah, always use absolute links because in case somebody scrapes it or whatever. So it's not natural for a lot of old school devs to do it the right way.
Gotcha.
All right, now this is a really hard question. Which is better, episodes 1, 2, and 3, or episodes 4, 5, and 6?
Oh my god, I can't believe I'm going to tell this story. Episodes, if you look at it in a series, episode 4, 5, and 6 is obviously superior to 1, 2, and 3. So I guess, does that answer the question, or do I need to go into the story?
I think you should go into the story.
Damn it, all right. Okay, so the episode 3 has a moment where Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi face off. Obi-Wan Kenobi has the high ground. Anakin goes for the jump, loses the legs, and Obi-Wan says, I loved you, you were my brother, you were the chosen one. I cried so hard. So hard. So for me, episode 3 is pivotal.
You know what? I think I agree with you because I really like that episode. I mean, that's where like everything happens. It all comes together. It's explained. It's like, that's how he became Darth Vader. Like you don't know this unless you read the books or whatever it is that all the Star Wars nerds read, which I wasn't really. I just like the movies. So I'm like, wow, it's like that moment that's like the crux of the whole story. So I feel some kind of way about episode 3.
Yeah.
Can I too?
You seen those?
Oh no!
It's like you don't even know me. I like the way that it humanizes him a little bit. You were able to connect with him as a character that way. He's not just
You
like
mean
a bad
Anakin?
guy. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's
all right.
not just a bad guy, you know? So it's like more, it's a powerful story because it affects you that way because that's how life is and that's how real people are. No, not just good, not just bad.
B is absolutely right. So obviously being the nerd that I am, I have done the full 1 through 6 marathon on a weekend. And it really is, I mean, it is pivotal to feel the full force of Anakin growing up, going through it. He has children, doesn't know it, thinks they died, thinks his wife is gone, turns to the dark side, just in a gone hole. I mean, this guy is psychologically just over. And it's just he's a puppet of a man. And then in that moment, B's absolutely right now that I'm thinking about it. I mean, it just, because it's so fresh in your mind, like all this other stuff that he came up with. And then right there at the end, he turns at the Emperor and it's just over. You can't see his face. You don't know anything about the guy. It's just over.
He's a broken person.
Yeah. But Ewan McGregor, that's why I was confused, because I thought you were talking about Obi-Wan, and I was like, I always thought Obi-Wan was very human.
No,
but
no.
I mean, Ewan McGregor just brought that level of emotion that he has for, and I mean, it's not even romance, right? Like he creates a relationship just from his charisma as an actor, but as that character for Obi-Wan Kenobi, that relationship that I had with him as the character, and then that transference to Anakin Skywalker. And he delivers that line, and of course, I'm very emotional about my brotherly connection. So for me, that was the moment.
Respect that. So I'm gonna skip around a question because I think this, based on what you just said, this question fits better. What's your favorite comic book hero or villain, and what traits made that hero or villain stand out to you?
Superman is by far my absolute favorite hero. My favorite villain has got to be the Joker, and it really wasn't true before. I think my favorite villain before the Joker was probably Mojo Jojo. And really that's from a comedy standpoint. Mojo Jojo was the villain for Powerpuff Girls. I watched that growing up as a kid. He's like a super mutant monkey, the huge brain, and it's like popped out of his skull. So he has a a helmet that protects the brain. But I mean, Mojo Jojo was just, the character himself was so pointlessly created. And I mean, maybe it's going to turn out that, like, you know, someone's going to correct me, and it turns out that, you know, Mojo Jojo was actually a very detailed character. Someone took a lot of time to plan him out. But to me as a kid, it just felt like he was the Napoleon Dynamite of villains. You were just like, what is happening here? Like, Wile E. Coyote made more sense than Mojo Jojo. But for me, the Joker became kind of that ultimate villain when Heath Ledger took him over. And I mean, Christopher Nolan absolutely created, you know, a darker night.
Right.
And I think the Joker really brought that balance.
All right. Well, another transition to put my questions out of order. Miller or Morrison for Batman? Yeah, that's a hard one. Yeah.
Getting really nerdy up in here.
It's super nerdy. I'm not gonna pick.
You're not.
No, I'm not gonna pick.
All right.
I'll take them both.
All right, that's fair. So, does being a professional, or being professional rather, mean you have to give up on being honest?
Being professional and being honest, I think, are one and the same. I think Rand has truly championed that concept of transparency as professionalism, and I think there should be no difference between the two. I mean, certainly one is an aspect of the other. Honesty should be an aspect of professionalism. But I certainly don't think that being professional means you can't be honest. I think that there's a tact that comes with professionalism. You don't have to be crass to be honest, but you certainly don't have to be... you don't have to always tell the truth to be honest at the same time. There are conversations that I have where the worst thing you can possibly do is tell everything. Giving it out piecemeal, finding out what's important to the person you're talking to, understanding, you know, the requirements they have for a project, the limitations they have for a project. The honesty factor really becomes making sure that you're being honest to the person you're dealing with. And that may mean that, you know, you have to withhold information like, you know, I know that there's somebody else working on another project doing a different aspect, but I can't give that to you. That's not relevant to your situation, but it's going to impact you down the line. You'll get that, you know, when you cross that bridge, you'll get to that.
So is that selective honesty?
I feel like it's being restrained, right? Which is really hard to do.
Well, so funny enough, I think I've learned more restraint from Brittan Bright in my professionalism than kind of anyone else. Brittan really helped with the professionalism while I was at Slingshot SEO, and
Shut up.
hey Jeremy. So I mean, it was kind of pivotal to me to understand that not everyone wants all the information. They have pieces that they're looking for, and if you stick to what they're looking for, you can get out of the room faster. People get the project moving faster, and they don't get paralyzed by information.
Right. So, tell us about your hair.
Yeah, tell us the story, please. It's awesome.
So when I moved to New York, I had gotten a haircut probably a couple weeks before I made the move. I was here for about 4.5, 5 months, and I had quite the, right around here, I would say was the, I don't even know how far this is. It was big. It was huge Jufro. And
that's one where you can just be honest, but the audience will appreciate that.
and
They're laughing right now.
I think I can't even remember who scheduled. Somebody scheduled a meeting for me. 3-hour meeting.
Wait. When I saw you, what did I say?
Which time?
I was like, are they mine? Do they?
Oh.
Like, how is this hair going over with your friends at Digitas? When are you gonna get it cut? You acted like it was no big deal.
I did. I acted like it was no big deal, but of course, Brittan is always right. You know, a few folks started mentioning it, especially as I had client pitches coming up, and you know, the request is basically, you know, you should probably get a haircut or figure out what to do with that. Seeing as how I'm not a huge fan of going out and getting my hair straightened, not that I've ever done it. So.
Simmer down, crowd. Simmer down.
I was going to say, that ended up being way funnier than I actually thought it was.
There's a Dominican place near us that will give you a blowout that would just blow your mind in Brooklyn.
All right, I'm looking forward to it. I'll keep this going for a few more months. But somebody scheduled a 3-hour meeting for me. I came into the meeting room. It was scheduled on like a totally different floor. I went up and somebody just handed me a Post-it note with an address, and they were like, you go here, you get your haircut. And I was like, what is this meeting about? And they were like, you getting a haircut. I was like, oh, woo! I'm gonna get a haircut. I'd been so busy that honestly I couldn't take the personal time for it, and they acknowledged that I was traveling a lot, and there was like no time for personal stuff. So they set me up with a wonderful guy up pretty near here in Times Square, and I don't know, it was a wonderful haircut. I think it came out well. This is a few weeks now.
You look good.
Feeling pretty good about it.
Looking good.
Okay. Favorite saxophonist? John Coltrane, Benny Carter, or Paul Desmond?
Evan Fishkin.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
You play saxophone?
I've been playing the saxophone since I was in jazz in band, and I think I started, 6th grade. So I've been playing a little over 10 years now.
I play trumpet. We should jam.
Jazz band coming through.
I mean, I did, but
Yeah.
I'm not.
Funny enough, I played the baritone saxophone when I was smaller, and then as I grew up, I played into the alto saxophone. So I went down a size.
All right. And finally, what are you going to be for Halloween?
Thank you, God. Thank you for this question. I've come up with the ultimate techie horror costume. It takes some preparation, as with all very good costumes. Go out and buy yourself a keylogger, a bunch of them, or keylogging software. Install it on all of your friends' computers, and as many other people as you know are going to be at whatever Halloween party you're going to be at. Record the information, review it as often as you possibly can, make a highlight of the most common words and out of the way stuff as you can think of, and obviously you'll identify some things that are very interesting. But it's important to do this kind of ahead of time. Give yourself like an extra week between when you take the keylogging software back and analyze the information and when you do the costume for Halloween. The costume is the incognito mode guy from Chrome. So you're running around kind of looking like a private detective, and then you just walk up to people and be like, so last Friday, when you were looking for that stuff, not cool, bro. But don't worry, I got your back. Get out there. You will freak the crap out of people because they'll be like, he actually knows what I searched while in incognito mode. What is happening here? Like, if you can nail this down, my hat to you, sir.
I thought you were just going to walk around with a shirt that was like a word cloud of everybody's passwords.
Ooh, wait.
That'd be too much. Because it's the incognito mode guy, right? You got to keep to the character, which is keeping that information safe.
Right.
It's just between you and me.
Right. No doubt. Wow.
That's got to be the scariest costume you can possibly.
People out on some level. I would guarantee that. I'm sure I recommend it as your personal. Let's see.
Life coach?
Yeah, as
That's
your life
my life coach. Yeah.
I don't know that I'm going to recommend that, but we can refine this strategy a little bit offline.
Awesome.
My go-to costume is, and your buddy, I can't remember his name, at your birthday party, he called me out and he's like, hey, I loved you in Superbad.
That was Tom. Isn't that Tom?
So my go-to costume is Jonah Hill. I don't even have to change.
Nice.
Very nice.
Nice. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up.
Awesome.
Evan, thanks for coming.
It was a pleasure, Mike. Always.
Thanks. Always a pleasure.
B, come here.
Oh, love on camera. All right, folks. So this concludes this edition of Lunch Break. We will see you next Friday. Have no idea who we're going to have next, but I'm sure it'll be awesome. Not as awesome as Evan.
Oh.
I'm sure it'll be awesome. See you guys next week.
Peace.